Folks, honestly, I don't know what to say about this election. I don't. Where do you start? How can you spend months in your basement during your campaign with very little contact to the outside world, the media, and then suddenly emerge in the 11th hour, get 75 million votes, and win in a landslide victory? How does that happen? It doesn't make any sense. And I submit to you that there was a lot more going on than just your standard Republican Democrat chicanery. It seems to be a word that people are using now. But it seems like there was a lot more than meets the eye going on. And when I start to see that they're putting cardboard on voting precincts, at the windows of voting precincts, or that you got people voting in Nevada who don't even live in that state anymore. Now, this has been going on for a while, for a long time, where you have people using the name of deceased individuals. So voter fraud, it's just all over the place. But it seems like it was more rampant this time around. There are more than 2,000 additional ballots found in Pennsylvania, North Carolina during a federal judge order sweep of U.S. postal facilities. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. You had over 800 mail-in ballots found at a U.S. postal facility in Texas. That's according to Newsweek. You had windows, like I said, that were covered up with large pieces of cardboard at one of these Detroit polling stations. Then there was a gentleman in New Jersey who found 300 pounds worth of mail, a couple of these garbage bags next to a dumpster, 200 blank mail-in ballots. Weren't they finding like 100,000 ballots or votes in the middle of the night somewhere, all for Joe Biden? Now, generally speaking, somebody might drop an envelope somewhere or a small package on the side of the road, may have fallen off a truck, driving down the highway. It's not uncommon. But 100,000 ballots, votes for Biden, just all of a sudden found or mysteriously found, let's say, by a dumpster on the side of a road, doesn't make any sense, does it? So it really puzzles me how Joe Biden could win this election. But I think I know what happened. Trump's an outsider. And when he got elected in 2016, he really shook things up. And Washington, D.C. was not happy with this. And ever since, they've been trying to kick him out. That's exactly what they try to do here. And when I saw that you had the Secret Service and military personnel securing Joe Biden's house, I knew that the fix was in. I just knew the fix was in. I said, uh-oh, he's going to be our next president. Kamala Harris, however you say her name, she's going to be our vice president. And look, I'm not mad that Joe Biden is president. I was rooting more for Trump, I'll admit that. But I wasn't mad. We'll have an election in another 4 years. And being an independent voter, I don't need a politician, Republican or Democrat, or otherwise, telling me how to think or what to do. I can think on my own. I can use logic and reason. But I really think they were trying to kick Trump out this time. I don't think it was just people wanted to vote against Trump because they didn't like Trump. I think it's because the establishment wants to get him out. And the truth is, these politicians are worthless. Republican, Democrat, these DC elite types, all they do is sit on their fat, lazy asses, drinking coffee, eating donuts, and arguing all day. That's what they do at our expense. And worrying about whether or not they're going to be invited to the next presser or steak and shrimp dinner. And I got to say, man, we need more people like Trump in Washington, D.C. I'm tired of the same old, same old. Those people don't represent us. They don't represent me. And I got news for you, D.C. elite. Your days are numbered. They are numbered. They are over because the American public is tired of this Republican-Democrat argument that you guys have had for God knows how long. You don't get a damn thing done. Trump has done more in 4 years than you guys have done in the last 50. So it's just a shame to see that we had probably, I want to say, our last great hope. But we had somebody who spoke for us. I felt that Trump did speak for us, the average man and woman out there who gets up and goes to work. Because he got up and went to work. And he built this business. Whether you agree that he did it legitimately or not, he built a business. I don't think practically anybody in Washington, D.C. has done that. Most of these people either went to law school or their parents were politicians and they went out and ran some type of campaign. It's about as much work as they have done. They never run a business. They never worked 9 to 5. So it just, I'm somewhat frustrated and disappointed. And for Fox News to call Arizona before all the votes were tallied is unacceptable to me. I don't care if it's Fox News, MSNBC, if it's CBS, ABC, NBC, I don't care who it is. No network should be calling the official vote of any state. Period. That should be done by state officials. And where are we having the most problems? In these swing states, which coincidentally happened to be where you had a lot of these protests, the looting, the rioting. And how could you, as a Democrat who lives in, let's say, Minneapolis, Portland, Seattle, you name it, wherever it is, how could you vote for another Democrat after seeing what happened to your city, after seeing it burn to the ground? Well, I think what they do it is because they like that money train, that victimhood money train coming in. So they keep voting Democrat. How stupid can you be? So I just thought I'd come here and say, I'm somewhat disappointed. And I was in a lot of ways rooting for Trump because of that enthusiasm, that love he has for America. I don't see that with the Democrats. They're always talking about Jim Crow this or slavery that. Well, I'm tired of hearing about that. Yes, it happened, but it hasn't happened now, or it didn't happen now, is it? And we haven't had Jim Crow in, 50, 60 years? We made a lot of progress since the 1960s. And it wasn't just Republicans or Democrats that helped make that happen. It was everybody coming together who wanted us to have racial harmony in this country. If you go back and you look at the footage from the 1960s, these civil rights marches, there's a wide mix of people, white, black, you name it. They were fighting for the same cause. But when I look at all the stories out there about voter fraud or alleged voter fraud, you see what was going on in Detroit, then that raises some serious questions about the results of this election. It just does. So, thought I'd just come here and just kind of put in my 2 cents. And I know you've probably seen hundreds of videos here on YouTube about this already. But I'm telling you, folks, I have this gut feeling that something wasn't right with this election. Remember, I'm an independent voter. So I'm basically going to tell you how it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat things for you. And Trump worked really hard. I know he worked really hard. He was out there doing those rallies. Sometimes these rallies was the population of the town he was at. I just don't see the energy, the enthusiasm with Joe Biden that we had with Trump. And I hope he fights this tooth and nail to the end. And Trump should not concede. Don't concede, Mr. Trump. President Trump, don't concede. You take this to court. Remember in 2000, it took, 84 days before they officially announced George W. Bush as the winner. And I remember when George H. Bush was president. That was a disaster. That was during the the riots in L.A., 1992, which, by the way, was an election year. Always seems these riots tend to happen around election time. But Trump isn't responsible, just on a side here, Trump isn't responsible for what happened in Minneapolis. He wasn't in Minneapolis when that happened. He had no control over what happened in Minneapolis, which, by the way, is a Democrat-run city. So how can you blame Trump, who's an outsider, for something that happened in Minneapolis? He's running the country, isn't running Minneapolis. And I think you politicians in these big cities, you have failed your own citizens. Everybody knows it. Nobody's willing to say it. Just a bunch of lazy SOBs who are on the government money train to get a pension. It's a real shame. But I think there are a lot of questions that need to be asked regarding this election. And I think it's time that we band together and we tell Washington, D.C., you know what? We're going to get more outsiders in. We're going to put more people like Trump in Washington, D.C., because we want people who represent us. We don't represent you. You represent us. You work for us, the American public. That's what our tax dollars pay you for. So do your job. Why is it so hard for you people in D.C. to do your job? Quit arguing with each other. I don't care if you've got an R&D behind your name. Why do you have to label yourself that way to begin with? Where is it written that we have to have a Republican or Democrat party? It's not written anywhere. So get rid of the R&D behind your name and go out there and do what is best for the United States of America, best for our citizens, because it's the right thing to do. You do that, then you'll probably get reelected. So thank you for being with me. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please click that like button, subscribe. Hit me up on Instagram at hashtag Jason Composes. Leave comments below. You can also reach me at Twitter, Voice of the Composer Twitter. I don't want you people to get discouraged. Hold your heads up high and realize that Trump did something fantastic in 4 years. He did more in 4 years than Joe Biden has done in 4 decades. Just think about it. He's done more in 4 years than Joe Biden has done in 4 decades. And we won. Regardless of whether we lost this election, we actually won in the end. We really did. I had said, I believe it was my last video, that these people, if Joe Biden wins, they're going to go out there, they're going to loot, they're going to riot. They're going to show themselves for who they really are. They're going to hang themselves by their own petard. And trust me, it's coming, folks. Trust me, it's coming. But my gut tells me that something was not on the up and up in this election cycle, and I hope that it comes out in court. I really do. Not because, I want to see Trump to win, or Trump winning the presidency because I'm a Republican. Because the truth needs to come out. And we need to weed the corruption out of D.C. and show these people, no, D.C., you're not in charge. We're in charge of you. It's time you work for us. It's time you do what's best on our behalf. I love this country, and I want to preserve it. I want to preserve what we have, because this is the last shot we got, folks, at real freedom in this world. The United States of America. Let's do our best to keep it that way. So thank you for being with me. Voice of the Composer saying peace out. Catch you next time.